Welcome everybody to another RWD gaming video where tonight I will be hosting the initial session, the precursor to all, in my setting of Vallendorn, a culmination of a lot of personal interests and themes. So hopefully I can regurgitate it in a way that is palatable to the players and enjoyable. I am joined by my four awesome and very tolerant with my inability to maintain a schedule players who I'm going to throw it over to, and then we're going to go ahead and get started. So kick us off, Phillip.
Hi, I'm Phillip. I love playing games with Baron and the rest of these guys. I'm going to be playing Kill, Barbarian.
Go Karen and then Jeremy and Connor. So if you guys just want to do it.
I'm Karen. I'm so looking forward to this. This is going to be exciting. I'm waiting to see what kind of tastinesses that you're going to throw at us. So tonight I am playing Kara. She is a rogue of the sign of the occultist.
Hey everybody, my name is Jeremy. I have a YouTube channel called the Erasmus Expeditions. I do live plays of D&D and other games as well. I'm also 1/3 of the Dudes of Yore podcast, which can also be found on YouTube with my friends Jeff Doty and Chad Nick. So check us out. Tonight I'm going to be playing Yona. He is a cleric born under the sign of the priest. He follows Valen and teaches the way of the light.
And I'm Connor. I'll be playing as Samsara tonight, a strange and mystical person who has vague memories of times before her time. And she was born under the sign of the alchemist, and so she pursues the greater meaning of things through trial and error, and ultimately some great unlocking. I'm looking forward to tonight.
So, to not stall any longer, we will begin from the perspective of a large bird, a hawk or an eagle or some cross between. This bird it's gorgeous. It's a light blue on the bottom with tufts of white, whereas the top is a deep gold. The beak is sharp and the eyes piercing. And it flies in over a fathomless ocean, a ocean surrounded in mist with churning beasts of just magnificent proportions, coiling beneath the waves. It hits the shore and you see the scarce settlements of people, fishing communities, larger harbors, and the roads traveling inward into the more denser forested areas of the central region of this vale. To the south, you see this bird peer into a large forest, older and more sacred than to some time itself. You see this bird fly towards a large central mountain of a sort. It's a fortress made of stone. It towers over the entire vale to the far west, and from it a beacon of light beckons this bird. It carries on and flies over a kingdom of men and women living together in a hardy but surviving community. You see an old man, disheveled and somber, sitting in a throne in an empty court. To the north, you see vast mountain ranges, shrouded in mist, with titans walking between its peaks. The bird flies farther across the vale, ending at this stone fortress to the far west, and it lands on the sill of this window, emitting a bright light. It preens itself and looks toward the being made of shimmering scales of prismatic energy. Valen, the god king of the vale for which it's named, Vallendorn. There's a light rain pattering on the thatched roof of the inn the four of you reside in. It's a small town. You've come to the aid of the sheriff of Karlsthaad. This small community lies in the more lowland hills and sparse forests to the northern reaches of the Vale. Not so far into the mountains where the terrain becomes inhospitable, but at its foot. The town itself is a mining community. It goes into the Black Hills, into the mineral-rich sands and clays, and they mine there. And it's, for the most part, it's hard work, but it's good work, and it pays. The bar itself is known as the Hang Nail, and it is known by the bent nail that extends from a wooden sign with the outline of a hand painted to it, with the nail erupting from the center. The story goes that if you're caught stealing, the hangnail takes a price as well. The four of you sit at a bar or at a table. You come from at least a somewhat similar background, as you've all answered this call. The sheriff is requesting aid in the hunt for a beast. It's killing livestock, and it's potentially killing people. And well, we're farmers, we're miners, we're hunters. We need help. And that's why we call to you. So what do we see here at this table? Do you guys know each other? Are you familiar with the area?
Samsara is in the area, not just because of the heat for the call for help, but also because this is what the stars had dictated in the night sky, that she be here in this moment now, and she knows this is the truth, as she follows the stars in their daily and nightly wanderings, essentially religiously, and so it is literally fate that has brought her here.
Kara is originally from Karlsthaad, though she may not live here anymore, having moved to the bigger town of Berensholm, I believe it's called. She often comes back and visits, as this is the place that she grew up.
Kiel has been in Karlsthaad for a long time. His father, his father's father, his father's father's father. Long time. And when there's a problem, I'll make sure to handle it.
I think Yona is new to Karlsthaad. I think maybe he is from, what is it, Berensholm? Is that what it was?
Berensholm.
Berensholm. I think he's probably from there initially, with it being a larger city. He serves at a temple, largely, and something has brought him here. Maybe he even came with Kara for some reason. Maybe to keep an eye on her and keep her out of trouble.
Four of you, like I said, are drinking the ale or water, or wine, whichever your preference, and you're eating the mutton, which, like most places, it fills your stomach. It sustains you. The owner of the tavern is a Pike Slateth. He is a little bit more burly of a man. You can tell he is a little bit more well-fed than the poorer folk around here. He runs the tavern. He seems to be in the good graces with the constable who drinks and stays here often. His chin is shaved, but he has a strong handlebar mustache that wraps into like mutton chops. He's balding on top, and he when he tries to focus on some print or anything, you've noticed that he pulls out some spectacles, kind of fits them on his nose. He's not well dressed, but he isn't dirty. So this is kind of a last hearth in your trip north, if anyone chose to go that far. This is kind of the end of the line. But by no means is this somewhere that no one comes. He comes over to you, and there's even a flyer on your table. Perhaps one of you had left there after arriving here, picking it off the notice board. And he turns it around, and he looks at it endearingly, and he looks up to you guys, and he actually probably even puts his arm or hand, rather, on Kjell's shoulder. Please. We need to find my son, Percy. Kjell knows. He went missing about 2 days ago. They say the woods got him, but... Well, Percy wasn't a hunter. He wasn't much for the outdoors at all. There's only two things my boy liked. It was beer and broads. He's no. And he'll kind of like turn, and he coughs into a rag, tucks it back in his pocket. Are you an ordained? You are a cleric. Are you like an ordained priest by any means? Do you think is he something that he would refer to an authority? Kara or Yona, rather.
Yes, I would imagine that Yona is an actual priest, and whether it's called a brother or father or friar or whatever the honorary title might be.
It'd probably be like friar.
Perfect.
Friar, you've come a long way.
I have, yes. I'm thankful to rest here for a little while. Even if it is, and he kind of reaches over and grabs a tankard, like away from somebody who's passed out on the table, drunk, and kind of slides it over to catch like this constant drip that's near him. Even if it is a little wetter than I would have thought.
Well, this time of year, I'm just glad it's not snow. Gets cold up in the parts up here.
It sounds lovely, but I imagine it could cause quite the problem. Yes, especially for traveling.
Well, hopefully you guys can figure out what's going on up here soon.
I am sorry to hear about your son. Percy, his name was?
Yes, Friar.
Good. Well, he will certainly be at the forefront of my mind and my prayers going forward.
Hey, thank you. Thank you. Please, drink your fill.
Oh, I think I will. Thank you.
And as he goes to leave, Kjell, make sure everyone treats these folks nice.
Yes, don't worry. We will find your son. And these folk here will be treated with all the kindness that Karlsthaad has.
Good man. And he will make his way behind the bar to tend to drunk patrons or getting people food. And it is after some time that you guys are able to kind of, talk to each other and plan for what you know when there is a ruckus outside. They're shouting. You hear like even a smashing of glass a little ways down the road. You can almost even see the illumination from torches outside as well.
Should we expect
Kill.
trouble? He looks over at Kill.
I don't think so. We should go check it out. And Kill will go up and try to peek through a window.
Kiel, you can see plainly out here that there is a growing mass of people, and they are kind of at the far end of the street. Down by where one of the members of the Hunters Guild, they're just kind of a loose association of hunters that make sure we don't kill overwhelming they keep track of the numbers of the king's game in the woods. And this figurehead, he's liked by some, he's disliked by others.
It seems as though there's a fight across the street.
Perhaps it's best that we not get involved.
Yes, perhaps it's best that you don't get involved. This is Karlsthaad business. I must go see what's going on.
And I will watch.
Can I get perception checks from everybody? And Kiel, you're going outside.
Yeah.
Okay. So you can't, Kiel, as you go outside, you can't really tell just from the shadow perhaps or the glare from the torches inside, but you can't really pick out who is either instigating this fight or the people kind of surrounding them. They're kind of, you can pick out some people that you recognize, but it's hard to associate a group or anything. Everyone else, you hear the kind of rhythmic berations of an exorcism or a purge or of some kind. And you will drown in the fires of hell. You will burn on the pyres of damnation. And you kind of hear this echoing through the town. You can't make out the exact message this guy is trying to get across. Kiel, as you approach, you're met with a wall of people. If you would like to try and get through or find a different vantage point.
Yeah, I would like to try and shout my way through.
Okay. Give me a persuasion strength check.
Oh, okay. Nice. Oh, that's going to be a 5.
So no one really is being persuaded. And actually, as you're kind of pushing in, and you can't get very far because they're pushing out. This crowd is starting to move towards the edge of town.
I'm just yelling feebly as they're pushing me back.
It's a barricade. And the three of you, as this kind of mass crosses in front of the open door, as it kind of swung shut, and the barkeep is now looking out. You hear these chants of the destruction of the town under the corruption of the evil magics of the woods, and the lurking in shadows will bring ill fortune on you and those around you. This is kind of going in front of you, but you are likewise kind of blocked out by this group of people to seeing what it is.
Oh dear. It does not sound good, what is going on out there. I am afraid for what this town is becoming.
Is it not always like this?
They've always been kind of a backwards people, I would agree, but never kind of hunting, well, like this, like going off on a mob spree after some poor soul for, what, superstitions?
Belief can be a powerful tool, but the hand that wields it is not always just.
No. But I'm afraid that maybe something more is at stake here. I don't think we've heard all of it. I mean, sure, the Percy has gone missing, but maybe there's been more.
And you think somehow that perhaps these townsfolk are blaming this individual?
Something's got them all riled up.
Maybe we should investigate. I will go to sort the matter out. He kind of stands up with kind of resolve and kind of checks his meager belongings to make sure that they're all proper and ready, and gather as much authority as he possibly can. And then he's going to exit and try to follow.
And Kara is going to follow behind him, but she is going to try her best to actually find a spot where she can see what's happening without actually being seen herself. So if that means like going up, maybe up to on a rooftop or something and hiding, that's what she'd like to do.
Okay. Samsara, what would you like to do?
Samsara would like to keeping to the shadows, knowing that her kind is often mistrusted, just to observe as best as she can at anything that's happening around her, even the things that seemed a bit too mundane.
So, Kiel, your headphones are off. Yona, you walk out from the tavern, the hangnail, and this crowd is actually kind of passing just beyond. And as you kind of walk forward, they turn and see you. And can I get a persuasion, charisma?
I actually am proficient in that. So that's going to be a 21 total.
So yeah, just as expected, when these people turn to see you, it's like, like, oh, Friar, like, please let me get out of your way. And, some of the people separate, and it gets a little thinner as you get in, like the people kind of holding it back. There's a couple street thugs. They're not really street thugs. They're more just nastier looking ne'er-do-well types, kind of holding the people back. You see what you would, a person, Kara, you would know, Kiel, you would also know if you kind of met up with them as he was pushing through. This is Father Trisholm.
Although looking deflated, I did.
Trisholm. Trisholm. He is a tall man, very slender, but he is very well kept. His hair is cut. His the sides are black and the top is white, or reverse that rather. The top is black, the sides are white, and he has these cold blue eyes. Like just the sight of him is the equivalent of a Ice King version of Doctor Strange. He is a very stern-looking guy. He is almost chiseled out of stone, just how hard his features are. And he has the leader of the Hunters Guild, Bren Direwood, by the lapel of his coat, and he's kind of dragging him along and kind of throwing him on the ground. And you see Bran's face kind of slide in the dirt. And Bran is he's a well-built guy, so seeing him thrown around like this is kind of jarring. His longer brown hair is kind of caked in mud. His face is bloody from the stones in the street. His shirt is ripped, and the Father Trisholm, he is just berating him and condemning him. And it ends at the edge of town where this tavern is sitting with, "And it is you, Bran Direwood, who has brought this upon us, and it is you that must be cast out." And he kind of throws him into the dirt.
So this Father Tristram, does he belong to the same organization of faith that I do?
Yes.
Okay, so his rank would be significantly higher than mine.
Not necessarily. This isn't like you come from a much larger town, so like rank wise, in terms of the learnings you've had, you could actually potentially be above him, but he's in like a stagnant position. He is the priest of this town. You would go and be much more valuable as an adventurer.
Okay. He's going to step out of the crowd. Excuse me, Father.
And he will look at you, and you can almost feel this intensity off his eyes as they go from this man to you, and he kind of relaxes, the vein in his head receding. "Oh, goodness. Friar Yona, I didn't know you were with us so soon. I had received word that you were coming, but..."
As fast as I was able. The saddle is not exactly something I'm used to, I'm afraid.
Me neither. And he kind of like straightens himself, fixes his collar, puts the hair that he does have back into place.
Might I ask what what grievance this man has committed?
He conspires with hags in the woods. They say he milked from a wolf herself as a babe. This is fouled by corruption and evil.
Have you asked him if any of these rumors are true?
But the evil seek to lie and deceive.
Yes, perhaps, but should he not be given a chance, at least?
He has given plenty. People are missing now.
You think he is the culprit, then?
There's rumors that he changes under the moon into a creature.
Have you seen him in the light of the moon?
Perhaps we will shortly if we do not cast him out. As the sun is kind of setting behind this range of mountains that curtains around the eastern side of the town towards the ocean.
Can we risk that, Friar? Should we kill him now?
I don't believe that there's any reason to kill him yet. As the Father has said, we will be shown by the light of the moon the truth of the situation in a short matter of time. Will there be a moon tonight? He kind of looks at Keel.
Will there be?
No.
We cannot test it tonight.
Then perhaps his slaying, if it is to be so, will simply have to wait, as well as maybe his exile from the town.
Kara, you, not to segue too hard, but Kara, you have decided to climb up onto something to get a better view. Can I get an acrobatics check before we get too far ahead?
Yeah, I rolled really bad. That will be a 10.
It's enough to stand on something. Perhaps not get on top of a roof.
Maybe I made it to like can I like lie down instead of stand?
Yeah, you can definitely lie down.
I'm not very stable up here.
You can somersault with a 10. I'll give you that.
So maybe I'm like on an overhang of a shed or something instead of being on top of a roof. I'm lower down.
Okay, so you are actually unable to see this kind of happening. You can see Yona and you can see Trisholm, but you can't really see what they're pointing at. Back in the front here, Kiel, what is your opinion of the guy that is thrown on the ground?
Well, I think Kale's a little superstitious, so he's probably going to go with the crowd on this.
The crowd's looking away from this guy.
Oh,
He looks, well, they look on the same side as the priest here.
the father or the friar?
I mean, in a way, is the same. They are associating more with the leader of their community here, the father.
Okay, so I'm kind of thinking, yes, if he's going to be a problem, though, let's kill him now. Why wait?
Killing him now would be too swift, says this stern man. Just banish him into the woods where he belongs.
He will only cause problems later.
He won't survive.
Do you not have a cell, a place to hold him until it can be confirmed? Are you ready to condemn this man without proof?
It's actually at this point where the man stands up, his face kind of bloody still and dirty. I'll leave. Please, friar, you waste your breath on this joke. He beseeches the name that you represent. I'll go. Because I can't bear to be in a traitor's presence like his.
I see. Then, before you leave, perhaps you will join me in a prayer to help guide you, protect you.
He kind of, he hasn't made direct eye contact with you. He's more looking respectfully. Certainly.
And Yona turns to the crowd and says, "Who will join me in blessing this man on his departure from your company? If he cannot go with you, then perhaps he can go with the blessing of our Creator and of Valen."
There are 7 people that kind of immediately step forward as the more pious folk, who would certainly be the type to, do this for someone else.
And Yona will approach this hunter, this guild master, and present his holy symbol and kind of place it up against his forehead as he recites these prayers, trying to grant him protection in whatever may lay ahead of him. And I think these are probably very common prayers. These are prayers that people know and understand. So they probably recite along with me. and then I'll give him like the last benediction, of the prayer, and then kind of place my hand on his shoulder and tell him good luck.
He doesn't even say anything. He just nods appreciatively and walks into the looming darkness of the surrounding woods. Almost ominously. Oh, go ahead.
Your prayers won't save him, friar. It would have been more merciful to kill him here.
Prayer saves more than you might think, Kiel. But you have time to learn.
We'll see.
Most ominously, a wolf howls in the distance. And as the sun sets and the moon, well, there is no moon, as the moonless sky begins to take over, the slight drizzle turns to snow, and white flakes start to blanket the ground. People are starting to disperse. The Father Trissolm is standing there. Why didn't you come see me as soon as you arrived in town?
I'm afraid the call of the tavern was a bit louder.
Certainly, we could have gone somewhere where the roof doesn't leak near as badly.
Yes. I'm a simple man. Simple places do not bother me.
But you speak wisely and fairly. You simply did not know the extent of this man's crimes.
No, which is why I sought to learn them, so that I could make an informed decision. Not that it was my decision to make, mind you, Father.
Well, I appreciate you giving your words of advice. He kind of like turns towards his place of dedication. Would you care to join me?
He turns and looks at the other three. As much as I would. I believe that we have an early start in the morning. So if you'll forgive me, I will pass this once.
Very well. And he makes your leave. The four of you are outside in the snow. Would you like to return to the tavern?
Samsara tarries a bit longer than is expected in a place that is being pelted by snow. But in the cloudy sky, she's able to witness the faint stars, and it's in the company of the stars that she is embolstered and reinvigorated. And she does not sleep, nor does she even need to sleep, as part of her strange divinity is that in which she needs not rest her eyes as long as she's staring at the stars. So
Well, I'm
perhaps even
freezing
after
my-
everyone else is retired.
Yes, I'm freezing. I will go into the tavern.
To the hangnail it is then. Maybe for more ale and at least a fire. And he kind of looks up at the sky. Get out of this snow.
The three of you, followed an indefinite amount of time later by Samsara, enter the tavern and continue to carry on with your evening. Mind you, it's more of the fall time, so the sun sets fairly early, so it's probably about 7:30 or 8. So it's not like overwhelmingly late. It's just getting dark and very cold. Probably a half hour to an hour. You hear the trample of horses, and the man you've been waiting for to greet you this entire time, the sheriff, Jonathan Maverick, has returned. This character opens the door. This guy is very large. You could probably actually give me... I'll just tell you. He looks very northern born. He has more of a tribal physique to him. The northern raiders, or the people that live kind of to the west of here, they're not so much raiders as they are just more nomadic. They are very large. They are very broad. They are very, they grow thick beards and grow long hair. This man is probably at least 6 to 8 inches taller than most of you, except Kiel, who probably bears some descent from these same peoples at some point in his lineage. This guy has black eyes and black hair and a dark complexion, and he opens the door and takes off his hat, and you can see that the hair itself is kind of like poorly cut, like if he did it himself to get it out of his eyes. And he walks in and he sits down, kind of shaking off some of the snow, and he looks up at all of you. My most serious apologies. I was taken away from the town, and I should have met you here. But alas, I am here now. So please let us discuss the matter at hand. You, and he looks to Kiel, know the problems we face here, and some, looking to the rest of you, seek to aid us. And he looks to you, Kara. Do you know this person?
If he's been here for a while, absolutely. She would know him, but he might not recognize her.
Well, this is a person who knows this is his tribe, if you will. This community is his people.
I'm thinking maybe, though, the last time he saw her, she was much younger. And
okay,
so,
fair enough.
Yeah.
You've spent some time in the city.
Yeah.
Yeah, perhaps your last interaction wasn't the most pleasant.
Yeah. So we'll say she's trying very hard to make sure he doesn't recognize her.
So he looks to all of you, steeples his fingers, and he notices that there's also already one of the pamphlets on the table. We have a beast problem. I myself claimed at least one of what could be a pack of werewolves. Out on my horse, my deputies are removing the corpse of what I think has been terrorizing our community, but I can't be sure it's the only one. My research of the area has deemed that there's potentially 3, maybe even 4.
These are what's been terrorizing our town.
Yes, Keel. It seems the creatures and corruption have made it to our doorstep yet again.
Then they will be fought back yet again.
Agreed.
May we see this specimen?
Of course. And you will be led outside to the 4 horses and the deputies pulling this body. It is humanoid, at least. It doesn't look like a werewolf, but it's dead. And give me an Arcana check, everyone, to see, or nature, to see what you know about these creatures in the woods. They're not uncommon, so. So, being as these are entities from the same, they gain their power from the celestial bodies in the sky. Samsara, you know quite a decent amount about the lycanthropes of the area. You know that they're not just werewolves. You know that they, roam the countryside fairly commonly. It's not unheard of for packs of these to show up. But Kiel, you've probably either fought a werewolf sometime in your life, experienced one firsthand, or have been taught by somebody. You know that if you kill one, it reverts back to its human form, or whatever monstrosity it was considered. So, as you guys go outside, the remains of a bloody human corpse is being taken off the back of this horse. Its head promptly removed.
Yona kind of recoils a little at the barbarism that's kind of been enacted on this corpse. You say this was a beast?
Taking stock of like the men, you see like one guy's arm is in a makeshift sling. Another guy has like some seriously bloody bandages. You see actually one of the horses didn't have a rider. So there's probably 4 horses. One of the riders is the sheriff inside. There's 2 guys pulling bodies off, and there's a like wrapped corpse in like a cloak that's kind of thrown over that one. And they're much more delicately pulling this one off. And the sheriff kind of stands next to you. Yep, that's old Farley's boy. Got reason to believe that him and his brothers are of the wolf of this creatures of the night.
You're lucky he only took one.
I've seen it with my own eyes. To be honest, I knew for some time that they could have been. Old Farley was. We didn't know if he was afflicted by it or if he was natural. But either way, his boys are too. 2 of them got away. I don't know if that 4th one is new or someone they know, maybe they're kin. But either way, they've been killing livestock. We got reason to believe they nabbed up Percy, Pike's boy.
Father Trisholm seems to believe that it might be the guildmaster of the hunters. Does this sound...
Bran died. Where's Bran?
He was exiled by the father, I'm afraid.
We came that way on the road. We would have passed him. The Father Trisholm has no justifiable proof.
As much as I said, but though I tried to reason with him, the gentleman chose to go ahead and step away, as it was.
The risk was not worth it, Sheriff.
Kiel, he was a good man. He led many hunts into the woods, brought back game.
Even good men can turn, and he'll kind of like stare off into the distance.
Starting to think I don't know the people in this town anymore, casting out their own into the woods of all places. preposterous.
He was no longer of us.
Well, anyway, we just came back from Farley's house. It's a place down about a mile into the valley. Creeps in towards the deeper part of the woods. There were always hunters. It never seemed a problem, especially when we found out about Farley's affliction. When he passed, we thought the worst was over. Seems I was wrong.
But the worst has yet to come. Samsara almost finishes his sentence.
He would give you kind of actually, hold on. Okay. He would give you a look of recognition, and it would seem that way.
Have you heard the tales of the rivalry between the stars and the moon? Each fight for the place in the heavens. On some nights the moon wins. On some nights the stars. On some nights neither win. That is why it is dark. Sometimes you can see both, as they have made a truce. Do you know this?
There's tales like it from where I'm from.
And that is essentially all the recognition she needed from this man, and does not elaborate on the subject further beyond that weird crypticness.
And the barkeep comes over, and he looks to. I imagine you guys have come back inside at this point. You were kind of outside, unless you had any more questions for them outside. It's still snowing and cold. They, haul off this like wrapped body. Phillip, you probably know this person. He is a Edward Glassdaw. He's one of the hunters, a deputized hunter. He's being taken off towards the graveyard outside the congressional area. And the four of you are brought back inside. The sheriff is given food and drink. The proprietor of the Hangnail Pike and him chat for a while about like Glassdaw's death, etc. And the four of you are left to your own devices for a time. Is there anything you would like to do? Any plans you'd like to perpetuate in finding out what happened to these people? Or is your plan to wait till morning?
I feel like Samsara would actually use this time to wander the nearby region. She is no stranger to the cover of night, and essentially is going to look for strange tracks, strange markings, and even looking inwardly to see if any kind of thing seems off-putting or noteworthy.
Give me a survival check.
All right. It's going to be a big ol' 15.
So in the immediate vicinity of the town, it's a lot of, footprints of people kind of trampling over the tops of each other. As you kind of just canvass the town itself, there's the inn, there's general goods, there's the sheriff's office, and you do actually see that there is like some sort of small prison cell. You pass by the Hunters Guild building, and all of these kind of just give you this aura of neutrality. They're very earthen smells, earthy tones, like very open. They're not musty. You can tell that like a lot of the time there's windows open, or there's a lot of activity to stimulate the energies of the area. It is when you actually come past the church that that vibe is no longer presented to you. It's more of a like afraid in the woods feeling. It's like the hairs kind of stand on end. You're not being watched, but the feeling that you could be is there. You feel like a mouse in the center of a room in front of this building. You have traveled for some time with the friar here, and he's never turned you the eye of persecution. This looks and feels like a fire at the like coals of someone's being that would ignite them and illuminate them for what they are.
And in this place, she wonders whether it is the fires of passion and mortality, or the ice of determination of pursuit of knowledge that drives a man forward more. But in these idle mind wanderings, she would then loop back after giving this place a cursory glance and return to the party.
What are the three are you doing in the meantime?
Kill will look around and see if there are any childhood friends of the family who might be at the bar.
The Farley family?
Yeah.
Farley and his boys? Would you know them? Would you have been... What exactly is your profession here? I guess it's up to you, whatever you want to do in this town for fiscal gain.
So I get supplies in town, but I live off on the homestead of my family, a couple miles out of town.
So you're probably on a very similar page as the Farleys. They probably live on the other side of the town from you, rather than being neighbors. You kind of just lived a similar lifestyle, and the few times that you had crossed paths with them, like out on the game trails and stuff, they were no more cocky or aggressive than anyone else. They gave you any due respect to any game that you had tracked onto their turf. They weren't baiting or being inhumane or anything like that. They were always just efficient, clean hunters that sold marketable food.
Yeah, so I will relay this information to Yona. Those Farley boys, they were good men. Never stole any livestock. Always fended for themselves. Good, honest men. I am afraid if they are afflicted, we have no choice but to put them down. But
is what they say about their father true?
It is true. He was a werewolf. It was never determined if he was afflicted or natural, but he was definitely Lycan and was killed as such.
People should not be condemned for what their family are.
I agree. I would like to discuss the matter with them, if at all possible, before we, as you put it, put down.
Yes, well, they do not like people coming on their land, so we will need to be careful no matter what.
We will have the blessing of the Creator upon us. It will turn out.
Yes, like it turned out for whoever that guy was that probably disappeared.
Oh, the guy that the barkeep's son?
The banished guy.
Oh, gotcha. Bran Dyerwood.
Yeah. Yes, like it worked out for Bran, I'm sure.
While they have been chatting about that, Kara actually has tried to find Pike, the tavern owner. So if she, went up to the bar or whatever and was sitting there,
Yeah, you would be able to find him.
and she would ask him questions about Percy. She'd start the conversation about.
So you actually might know him. He'd probably be about your age. He was a womanizing asshole that had some money because his dad owned the tavern where hunters would come in from out. And I mean, is there any questions specifically that you would like to ask? I should have led with some.
That's okay. I knew him very well. And she would start with, what happened to Percy? I mean, I was hoping to see him this time I was in town.
Well, he was leaving his shift here. He was covering for me. I got sick and I had to stay out of the inn for some time, and I couldn't afford to come here and risk the patron's health, and really just hoped it would pass on its own. And he turns and he coughs into his handkerchief again. So my son, my boy Percy, he looked over the inn for me, and well, I was waiting for him to return a couple nights ago, and he never showed up. They say that he closed up fine. The usual folks that are here say he left, but he never made it home.
What makes you think that he just didn't leave?
Percy leave. That boy wouldn't know where to go. He's got it too good here.
I'm not sure you knew him as well as you think you did.
Well, what could you be saying? I knew Percy. He was my son.
Yes, he was. No matter. Where do you think he would have gone if you don't think he left on his own?
Well, we live on the southern end of town. It's just a short walk from here. You gotta cross in front of the abbey there, and you turn, and we're just down the street from there. So within the watchful eye of the Creator, he should have been fine on the walk home.
Does Charlotte still live out that way?
Oh, Charlotte. I think she might.
Have you asked her where Percy is?
Well, no, why would I go ask Charlotte for where Percy is? He doesn't hang out with harlots like Charlotte.
Right. I forgot you knew him very well. Thank you. I hope he comes home safe.
Me too.
And she would return to the others at the table. There's something off with this story that they're saying. How he disappeared. I'm not buying it.
Who? The tavern keep's son?
Yeah. I mean, if the stories are all true, then he only had to walk a few hundred meters or so before, from here to his home. He had to pass the abbey, though. And we've seen what the father's done with people he doesn't like. So
You think he exiled him?
I don't know what to think anymore.
Well, I suppose I could take the father up on his offer for a meeting and speak with him about it.
He
Do we,
trusts you, right?
What was that, Karen? Sorry?
So he trusts you, right? The father?
I would think so, yes. He has no reason to not.
Then you should be safe, I think.
My safety is a question. I think not.
Right.
So,
I forget you. Never mind. It's okay. You are fine.
he kind of shakes his head as if he understands what she's getting at. You can make your jests if you wish. But I know that the power that I have been granted is true, and its source is very real. There is no doubt in my mind.
I have no doubts that there's no doubt in your mind, but know this. There's always a balance, and that must be kept.
Perhaps. But we should get to the bottom of what is going on, regardless of who is to blame, if in fact there is a whom to blame. I think we should speak with the Farrelly brothers as well as with Father Trissom.
I agree. Maybe you should speak to Father tonight, and tomorrow we talk to the Farley brothers. If what they say is true, I really don't want to see them tonight. Especially if they are, as you say, not welcoming to people on their land.
yes, it's probably best we avoid them tonight. I wonder, though, do you think once they turn and then turn back, they can remember what they've done?
I would like to think so, yes, because if not, then the fact that they have not turned themselves in for doing these things is troubling.
Hmm.
So you are going to go to sleep then, or pass the night of some sort.
I am going to go talk with Father Trissom.
Oh, okay. It's probably at this point like 9:30. The snow is now making an audible crunch underneath your boots as you walk across the hardening mud of the road. Like Kara said, it's a few hundred meters to get to the church from here. This building is made of stone and is very, very intricate and precise in the masonry itself. You can tell everything that you're seeing here is very custom to what you're used to seeing in terms of, you know, the structures of your priesthood. This building, for all it's very pretty. It's very symmetrical and defined, sharp lines. It's very Gothic, architecturally steep spires and whatnot. And in the central, you can see the torchlight inside this building is illuminating a stained glass, which you're used to seeing, and it is the outstretched arms of the creator himself. He is a being sheathed in orange and red and yellow armor that kind of flickers like the sunlight. And in the flickering of these torches, it kind of does have that effect upon the stained glass it's reflecting on. And his tunic beneath is a deep green and blue. And as these lights flicker within, it's almost like looking at the sun from the depths of the ocean, this ball of light in these deep hues. And the door opens in front of you as you open the door, and it swings smoothly on oiled hinges. The interior of the church is lined in pews and heavy with the smell of censer smoke. You see the torches lining the walls and above you.
I think that maybe there's a small portion of this stained glass window that maybe has like this magical light source attached to it, and it casts like this beam of light to where it falls like in a circle just inside the doors of this room. And Yona steps into that circle of light and pauses there and says this particular recital of like entering into a house of worship, similar to the way that someone would dip their hand in holy water. And
I almost think you should get a bonus for doing this. Some sort of proficiency. Not you get a +1 to persuasion checks done in areas of this association from this kind of gesture that everyone does as they walk in. Nice.
I love it. So as he's kind of said this prayer for entering this house of worship and made this pause in this kind of ray of light, he then proceeds forward and will find a quiet place to sit on one of the pews near the front and wait. Unless there like a sign of like a rectory somewhere?
Yeah, there's actually, I mean, you would recognize the kind of structural base of this building, and you kind of know like the floor plans of how these are built, especially in the farther communities as a traveling adventuring friar. So you would have a good idea of where to go to find one, yes.
So he'll go to the door of the rectory and kind of just softly knock.
You hear like the scrape of like 4 wooden pegs against boards of the floor, and steps creaking on the steps as the torchlight illuminates your face as the father opens the door to you. Oh, greetings. I thought you were declining my invitation this evening.
I did, yes, but my companions have all turned in for the evening, weary from the road, I'm afraid. And I found myself not ready for bed as of yet, and it felt a shame to pass up the chance and the opportunity to speak with a brother of the cloth.
Oh, then please do join me. He opens the door for you to come inside.
I hope I'm not disturbing your evening.
Not at all. And you actually see that there is this room is fairly modestly furnished. There's a table, a desk area. You can see there's like a smaller table with 2 chairs next to it where 2 people could like converse. There's a wooden frame with stacks of like linens and straw for a mattress. He does have feather pillows. They're dingy feather pillows, but they look fluffy, at least appearance wise. You see that he has a book open on his desk and like a quill and inkwell sitting there, and he walks over and he shuts the book and he sits down at this small table.
If possible, may I roll an insight on his like body language as he closed this book?
Sure.
Excellent. That's a 13.
So he rolled a deception against you, but you notice a certain rigidity about him. He is very, very precise with his movements. Like this move over to the table and shut the book was almost as flawless as him turning around to pull the chair for you to both sit down. Suspicious? No. Yeah. But
It seemed practiced.
yeah.
So yeah, I doubt that Yona would dwell on it too much then at all. He sits and he says, I must confess my coming here was not purely social.
But of course, you're here to help with the problem. But as you can see, the problem is quite handled and dealt with, even.
You have exiled the Farley brothers as well, then?
The Farley brothers, well, from what I heard as the return of the sheriff, we're currently hunting them down. So quite on our way to solving our own problems.
Still, we were with purpose, and I intend to see that purpose through. So tomorrow we will be going to speak with the Farley brothers, if we are able to find them, that is.
If you're able to find them and the woods hasn't taken them, they're akin with Bran Direwood in that their minds are of the beast now. There is no saving them. They must only be put down. Mercy.
You see, the does not take merely conjecture as fact. So I must go and find the truth of this matter myself. Though I appreciate your opinion, Father.
But of course, from one member of the class to the other, who would I to be obstruct the Creator's will? Here, as our merciful Valen would allow. But of course.
We serve the light.
And always it provides. Is there anything else you would like of me, Friar Yona?
Oh my God. I just had a complete brain fart about what I'm supposed to actually be
You're
talking
supposed to ask him about Percy? Maybe? I don't remember what you came over here for.
That sounds good. Does somebody else have something to add?
Is anybody quietly hiding in the other room?
The son of the proprietor of the Hangnail, the tavern where we were staying, his name is Percy.
Yes, young Percival.
Yes, he has gone missing, as I understand it, and his father seems to think that perhaps it could be involved with all of this business with werewolves.
Well, it's clear as day, if I might say. He was walking home, and witnesses say that Bran Direwood turned into a creature and attacked him into the woods.
He killed him, then?
I suppose that's the only outcome associated with tangling with a beast.
These witnesses, they were here at the Abbey, perhaps, as his path home brought him just outside your doors.
Oh, did it? Well, I suppose it did.
So these witnesses were parishioners or people who serve here at the cathedral with you?
All the townsfolk are my flock, friar.
Ah, of course. Maybe speak with them.
At this late of hour, I'm sure the only person you're going to be able to speak to is me.
Ah, well, imagine my luck then.
You
were a witness.
I myself? No, I was not. I must only trust the words of those who trust me.
The conviction with which you spoke, I just assumed surely that you must have seen these accounts firsthand.
You know as well as I that the Creator bestows with us gifts to enact his will. By these gifts, I deterred that he was in fact a creature of the night, and by such I banished him.
We are still talking about Percy?
I am speaking of Bran.
Oh, yes, of course. My concern is merely for the boy and his safety. The batter of the werewolves is also the task that we were set to here in this town, but if someone is missing and it is not certain that they have met with death, I would like to find them as fast as I can.
Well, it would seem that soon enough the witching hour will be upon us, and there's nothing that can be done right now. Perhaps in the morning, under the divine light of the sun, we shall look then.
Perhaps. I thank you very much for your time, Father.
The pleasure is all mine, brother.
And he kind of lowers his head in a bow and excuses himself from the room.
The door is quickly shut behind you. And as you return home, this is probably around the same time that Samsara has arrived as well from her patrol of the area. Is there anything you guys would like to do before going to bed? Or would that do it? Because as the moonless night comes to a blinding dawn, that is where we'll take our break. So do what you gotta do. Meet back here in 10 minutes, and let's go walk into the woods. This is RWD Gaming with the first episode of hopefully many adventures to come in the Vallendorn setting. And hope my players are having as much fun as I am. So we'll see you when we get back. Give everybody some time to get back and ready.
Oh yeah.
Hopefully the game is satisfactory.
I'm having a ton of fun. So there's a very specific character. I'm kind of trying to angle this character in the like of. I'm having a fun time trying to do that.
Well, hope you guys are ready to fight some stuff.
Oh yeah.
Hopefully, anyway.
Hell yeah.
Yona wants to talk. Jeremy wants to roll dice and damage shit with Scorching Ray.
Scorching ray. Scorching ray.
Scorching Ray for you. Scorching Ray for you. Scorching Ray for all of you.
Oh, I got something in my pocket. Scorching ray.
Go ahead and check under your seat. Scorching Ray.
Hey man, I'm kind of having trouble reading that sign right there. What does it say? Does it say Scorching Ray?
Scorching ray.
One and the same.
I mean, when you have a stomach bug, everything can be a scorching ray.
Your arcane focus is your stomach. I channel my scorching ray through my stomach, actually.
I do want to say thank you, Baron, for making the relationship with this father character exactly the way that I pictured it in my head.
So this guy is like a cross between the bishop from Castlevania
Mm-hmm.
and he's the count in the Hunchback of Notre Dame, I think.
Oh,
Yes.
and
I
yeah.
can't remember his name, but you know the shitty guy that everyone hates from Hunchback of Notre Dame.
God, what is his name?
The guy that just gets a boner and then blames a witch for it.
Yeah, well, we took the part away where he gets a boner, and it's about
Still blames the witch. Yeah.
Still blames the witch.
I mean, if you never mind, I'll just shut up.
It is an adult channel, but YouTube is a fickle mistress. It seems we are all back. Is everybody good to go?
Yes, sir.
All right. So, Samsara, you don't sleep very much. You, like you said, are more active in the evening. And in the twilight before dawn, on the hills overlooking town, you, for whatever reason, decide to gaze at the stars one more time before the sun arises. And you see a large shadow, a dog maybe, looming in the black hills above town. And almost as you look at it, it looks at you. And for a moment, this eye contact, it feels like a conversation even that you've had with people who appreciate the evening time like you do. And as quick as this moment is started, it is just as quickly ended. and this creature runs down the slope on the opposing side. The sun rises, and with it the chirping of birds, and in the distance there is also the rooster that does his morning call. And the four of you start your day. You are met with the smells of the kitchen down below as the inn is beginning its day. The hunters come in early to get a start in the morning. What are the four of you doing as you rise from your evening?
Yona would be back at the cathedral for morning prayers before they leave. So I imagine he rises pretty early, maybe an hour before dawn, and has all of his things packed and ready to go, and then leaves to go do his morning prayers before he returns to the inn.
You go there, and you notice the obvious thing missing. Father Trisholm is not present.
He calls his name and kind of goes back to the same rectory door and knocks.
At first, when you first call, like the people that have come for their morning prayers here are kind of startled at first and look at you with disdain, but quickly change their visage as they see who it is, being disruptive in the church, and quickly, return to what they're doing. And you go to the door, you knock, you don't hear anything.
We kind of, he'll try the handle, the latch on the door.
It's locked.
He turns and goes back to his prayers then,
which you're able to complete. Potentially even give some guidance to those in search of the Father himself.
So he's going to finish, and then he's, like I said, he's going to return to the inn for breakfast before they're supposed to leave.
The sheriff is there in the morning as well. Keel, are you awake?
Yes, I am an early riser, but I will just go down and eat food, waiting for my companions.
You probably awoke around the same times as some of the hunters were coming in for something warm to eat before leaving. And it's with you the sheriff is talking. Are you venturing out to see if you can find the Farleys today?
Yes, we will go and see the Farleys. We want to
Go ahead.
We want to make sure they are in fact the culprits.
He looks at you, and you can see that he is hiding sadness behind his gaze. If you can hear him out. We didn't give Tom the chance. He had changed. But if you can hear him out.
Did you verify it was, did they see that it was Tom before they saw him change?
Yeah, after they had killed it, they had been able to confirm it was Tom once he had reverted back to his human state.
I know how it is to lose a family member to this affliction, so I will approach the subject carefully.
I trust your judgment. And as you go to leave, he actually looks to you. Do you carry silver?
I am a man of humble means.
It's not much, but it's what we took down Tom with last night, and he brandishes his hatchet. It's not much more than a wood cutting axe of sorts, but you can tell that the material that the head of this is made out of is predominantly silver. This is just a silver battle axe. I think it's battle axe. Is that the one-handed one? War axe, maybe. I don't have my book. But anyway, he hands it to you. And he turns to make his leave.
Thank you, Sheriff. We will do you proud.
It is a silver, battle axe. It's versatile, whatever. Battle axe, 1d8. And as the rest of you awake and make your way downstairs around the same time as Yona gets in, you are left to seek out the Farley's homestead to the north of town. The air is cold, and you can tell that whatever snow, it probably snowed maybe an inch or two throughout the night, has stuck to the ground as it's remained fairly brisk this morning. And it is not a horrendous walk to where the Farleys lived. It is there's a main trail, but there is a fairly walked game trail that you can tell that they probably use to and from town to sell. You can tell that, through time of dragging game through this trail to town to sell, it's been worked and manageable. You travel for the better part of the morning. It's probably 2-3 miles, so I guess not the better part of the morning. You travel for an hour or so before getting there. The home itself is it's shack-like. You can tell it could probably house 3 people, maybe. And you can see like whatever kind of curtains were in front of the window are flapping out. There is no glass pane or anything. The door itself is kind of flapping in the wind as this hut kind of borders the Black Hills to the north. It's quiet.
I'll call out, Farley! Are you in there?
It's quiet. You hear the wind now. Before, the kind of constant crushing of snow as you walked muffled it, at least in your own mind. But you're recognizing now that the wind is blowing fairly hard. And as you yell, you're not even sure if your voice carried that far to the house.
I will, I guess, look at the rest of the companions.
I would imagine that it is not uncommon for hunters to leave their homestead for days, perhaps even weeks at a time. Yes? He looks at Keel.
Maybe one of them, yes.
Well, the sheriff certainly must have caused a bit of a ruckus last night, it would appear here. Maybe they're just frightened. I think we should press on.
So I'll make my way to the doorway.
As you approach, you actually see underneath like the blanket of snow in a spot not too far from the house where it's not as deep here. There's actually a stain of kind of like a brown, some sort of liquid was here last night. And as you walk past it, you can see that there's actually like the ground is a little more torn up and askew here. You have reason to believe this is where Tom Farley had met his end. You get to the door and find the house, though extremely light in terms of furniture, what furniture there is destroyed. The table is smashed. The cupboard-esque structures are pulled away from the walls. Any kind of shelves are ripped down. You can tell that there may have been glass or at least shutters on this window. They're ripped off and splintered. Any kind of bed or bedding is skewed across the floor here, mixed in with the wood chips.
This doesn't look like simply a fight. This looks like this place was like intentionally like destroyed.
It looks like whatever was in here exploded. Something torrential happened in here, whether it was intentional or not. You could probably give me an investigation check to get a better determination.
Samsara will help you in your investigation as well. She is quite observant and always watching.
That is a 16 total.
So, from what you can tell, this was almost like done by like hammer or some sort of large weapon. It was just things have been smashed. You can't see any you can't find any blood in here. You don't see any signs that there was necessarily a fight in here. But with the 16, you do find a thing that you particularly would recognize. It is a shard or a ribbon of fabric that the men of the cloth would make their robes and stuff out of.
This is like a torn.
Yeah, like a torn piece of vestment of some kind.
Where did he find this?
This is actually like inside some of the. It's by a chair. It's by a shattered chair.
Just kind of lying on the floor.
Yeah.
He'll pick it up and kind of hold it up to the morning light kind of coming in through the curtainless windows. This looks like the vestment cloth of a priest. Interesting.
There is blood on this.
Furthermore, it seems to be the only thing that has blood upon it in this room. The cupboards have been pulled down away from the walls. This no one was thrust into them to destroy them. They were intentionally pulled down from the walls. Something in this room is very strange. Whatever happened here, I don't think it was merely a fight.
So are you suggesting that somebody vandalized this place?
I wouldn't possibly begin to have a guess as to what happened here, but why with a purpose, much less.
Did the sheriff talk or mention at all about like going into the Farley home when they had this altercation with Tom?
No, they had just told you that they had pursued this creature in the woods, and this is just ultimately where it had led to a culmination, and that ultimately ended up with Tom reconfiguring from his transformed state.
But they didn't go inside.
No.
I do not know what to make of this. Whether it is somebody trying to hide something or somebody trying to make it appear as something else. Or even maybe somebody just taking out their anger.
Keel, you said that the Farleys were hunters. Yes?
Yes, everyone hunts out here for survival.
Who would be the one person who knows all of the business of the hunters here in this city?
Probably the leader of the Hunters Guild,
The
who
one
is now
Exiled,
so conveniently exiled.
forcefully.
But he has disappeared, unless of course your blessings worked.
He may yet be around, perhaps with Valen's blessing. But this needs to be explained. He waves the bloody cloth. The father mentioned nothing of being here. I think we should talk to the sheriff again.
Did his garb have such a terror?
You would have noticed that he looked pretty clean when you were there. It didn't look tattered or anything.
If there was such a piece missing, it escaped my notice. I would not have thought such a thing possible of a man of his station. But there are certainly questions that have arisen.
She closes her eyes. If a man goes to hurt another man, why would he wear his finery if not to dine? Or perhaps this man sheds this cloth as if a way to show that he is here when he is not. Or perhaps there was no intent behind this cloth, behind the man himself. Perhaps an accident. But why would the man be here, in finery? You see?
Many people come to do prayers over the dead, the dying, last rites, things of that matter. It's possible that such a thing could have brought him here to this house. How long ago did the father die? The father of the Farley brothers.
That was probably a year and a half ago, 2 years.
Again, questions. Is there any hope for us finding these brothers out here? Looking at Kiel again.
Kara, you're standing in the doorway, I imagine. at least towards the end of this conversation, peering out over the hills that you've recognized just in your travels around Karlsthaad. And in the tree line, close to kind of parallel where the tree line runs to this cabin, down a ways, you see a figure. His hair's brown, and he appears to be about 5'8", 5'9". You haven't seen this man in some time, and the last time you even heard his name was last night, and before that, years before. And it was Bran Direwood. You see him look at you, and you look at him, and he turns and walks into the woods.
Kara will calmly turn back and look at those in the room. Bran is alive. I have just seen him.
Do you speak of the present or in the near past?
When I say he's like a distance away from you, you could get to him. You could go to him. Probably 40 feet, 50 feet.
Yeah, Kara will not answer Samsara. She will just turn and start heading towards where she saw Bran.
It doesn't take you long to cross this clearing of yard that leads to where you think he went in. And as you kind of closer examination of this, you can see where he kind of tucked into the undergrowth. And you are able to, if you want to, follow him into the woods.
I will, but at the entrance to the woods, she will turn back to see if any of the others are following or if she is alone.
I think it'll take Kill a second to realize that you've left, and then he'll like, "Where are you going?" and go and follow you.
Yona kind of looks at this bloody cloth and then tucks it away into his like the robes that he wears, and then he'll follow as well.
You arrive at this section of woods, and you notice where this path enters. It doesn't take long for you to kind of discern where he goes, and the hills and the forests of this area kind of have created a overlook of stone where it's like almost a small wolf's den. In theory, at one point it could have been. And laying there is a man, feverish and bleeding, his clothes torn, and he lies there kind of covered in a coat of some kind, a fur, as he kind of shivers uncontrollably, trying to not make any noise. And as you approach, the snap of a twig gives away your would-be ambushers. It is Bran Direwood and little Chris Farley. Is that you, Kara? You came home?
I came home. What has been going on here?
A lot. And at this, like, the man on the ground who has revealed himself to be Lionel Farley, he cries out, and you see the extent of his wounds. His chest is rendered, his flesh kind of hanging in ribbons. He is bleeding excessively. Lionel's gonna die. We can't stop it.
You've tried to stop it and it will not?
You don't understand. He's a wolf. He's a beast. He's coming back.
By he, are we referring to Lionel or are we talking about somebody else?
And at the meek form of little Christopher Farley, he comes forward. The priest has been turned.
I knew it. Let me see.
Bran steps forward. Before you jump to any conclusions, it was an accident. Tom didn't mean to bite him. The priest came with accusations and was going to run him out of town. And these boys are honest folk. They never hurt nobody. They came by it naturally. Their father was the afflicted one. Well, they haven't hurt nothing. They haven't hurt nobody. But the priest comes along after he finds out that their dad was, well, he was a monster. And, well, you know what happened. They killed him. It was only a matter of time before the priest caught on to what was going on here.
Father Thism was here last night.
No, it was 3 days ago.
Before they killed Tom.
Yeah, before they killed Tom. And Chris looks sullenly again. And Lionel cries out, and Chris, falls and, quiet, brother, quiet.
May I?
And Chris looks to Bran, and Bran nods and allows you to step forward. And Bran actually has his weapon drawn towards you, Keel.
That's probably because as he's been talking, I've just been like gripping and twisting my grip on my maul. If he is turned, we have to take him out now, or he will hurt many more.
Chris out loud, no, I will not let you.
You need to step aside right now. And his breathing starts to get a little heavy.
Bran is also kind of stepping in between the two of you. Now, please, I know that you wanted me to leave town last night, but you're a hunter. You know these guys. They're not what the priest makes them out to be, not what I'm made out to be.
If you're a werewolf, then you must be put down too.
I'm not a werewolf, but I won't let you hurt them. They've done nothing to no one.
Keel, your anger is misplaced. You should maybe turn it upon the priest, the one who has been doing this.
Perhaps we should not direct anger at anyone just yet. I can heal your brother. Lionel, was it?
Yes.
If he is already a werewolf, then there is no reason to be concerned with the fact that he has been bitten by Father Thism. Is this correct?
No, sir.
He kind of looks to Keel as if maybe this will diffuse the situation.
What do you mean you can heal them?
I have the power of prayer. Valen and the Creator through me can perform many things.
At this, Keel will spit. There is no power of prayer. prayer is what gets you people like the father over here.
Perhaps then I can show you what I mean. You've known this man for a long time, yes?
Yes.
And he has never caused trouble before?
No.
And yet he was born as a werewolf. Is that correct? He looks to the younger brother.
Hi, sir.
Then there is no reason to suspect change in him. He's still the same man that you have known.
All terrible men start as babes.
But you have never known him to be a terrible man. Do not paint him to be so in your mind before your eyes see it.
You see little Chris suddenly get very alert on something just outside the tree line. He looks at Bran, and he looks down at Lionel, and he looks to you, Yona. Please heal my brother. I have to go. And he sprints off almost inhumanly fast.
Yona kind of stays where he is with his hands kind of raised and looking at Keel as if like waiting for permission to proceed.
You're looking for permission from Bran. He is.
No, not from Bran, from Keel.
Oh.
Yeah, I'll just like look on.
Okay, when it's obvious that you don't intend to like step forward and smash his head like a melon, Yona will move over beside him and kneel down and start to pull out a few candles, light them. He has a censer that he lights some incense in and hangs from a nearby nail in the wall. We're outside. So like a branch, like a small broken branch off of the tree nearby. He's going to kneel down. He's going to start to pray, and he's going to cast Cure Wounds upon him.
Yeah.
Do you want me to go ahead and roll?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. What you got?
It is plus my modifier, I think. Which is what? Okay. 9 points.
You can see that, like, in his state, that a lot of this cure wounds is going back to stitching vital organs that weren't regenerating fast enough to kind of overcome the damage that's been done. He will live, but he is still unconscious. His fitful sleep, kind of a more gentle one. You also notice that despite the fact that it is fucking cold out and this guy's wearing like next to no clothes, he is not like suffering ill effects from being out in the elements. You cover him back up with the fur, and for a time it seems that his hardship will pass. Bran looks to you. He probably was even helping you with what help he could give. Thank you. They've already lost one brother. They lost a father. Chris can't take much more.
He nods. His innocence is what spared his life. And
What do you know about people that are lost to the woods?
I know that no one is lost. Not permanently.
Well, I pray for little Chris's sake that that's the case.
As do I.
You are tranquil in this little den here as you've performed these works. Kara, Samsara, and Keel, what are you guys doing as this kind of event is taking place?
Kara had a watchful eye on Keel to make sure that he didn't interfere with the father's healing there. She was a little unsure. But as soon as she realized that Keel had kind of calmed down a little bit, she looked to where Chris had run off. She looked in that direction, hoping maybe to see or hear something. She's just watching.
Samsara, you have been awfully prophetic but reserved. Is there anything that you are doing right now?
She's overlooking. She's like, I imagine her just like standing on top of the overlook, and she is witnessing the prayers and miracles that the friar brings, and accepts them as, you know, parts of the truth of the tapestry of this reality. And she would be almost meditating, standing, opening her third eye in a long ritual of detect magic, hoping that just something would be revealed to her as the others are dealing with the men down at the base of the overlook.
So at first, overwhelmingly, it is this divine warmth from the works and miracles of your companion. But there, you as someone in tune with the ways of Arcana and the forces of the world at be, you are a little bit more in tune with like the vibrations that travel through the earth when these kind of things happen. And perhaps this is what makes you so effective at traversing in the night without much threat. You are able to kind of pick up on the more fine vibrations of some sort of corrupted natural arcana, just a kind of almost like a mosquito in your ear of something wrong when you use detect magic. It seems almost druidic.
And she would interrupt whomever's talking at the time with a loud, but also very tranquil as well. There's a feeling I sense in which cannot be described more so than vermin. Perhaps this vermin is one of spirit, not of physique. One who prays, one who crawls. I dare not say who, for it is not my place to know. But it is there, I see it. It is there that it is with me, in a sense. I felt you would know. I felt you would need to know. And then she goes back to meditating and going through her alchemical stances in her mind more.
And almost as the the statement of your friend as she kind of washes over this small den with the feelings of the natural world. Can I get a perception check from everyone? You all, well, not you all, Yona. The plights of an injured or wounded animal sound off to you like a fire alarm in an echoey hallway. You hear the yipe, the cries of fear and pain. And not far from where you guys stand, the kind of like breaking of branches and trees and a large thump of something hitting something solid. The sound resonates for a moment in you, Yona. And that thump is also audible to both Samsara and Keel. And the sound dies down for a moment.
Did Bran seem to hear it?
Bran did not. He's kind of standing, just kind of checking on Lionel.
I imagine that Bran and Kara were actually talking.
Yeah, actually, that makes sense. And it's as the silence dies down, I need you all to roll initiative. Okay. So we have Samsara, Kara, Keel, then Yona. Bran will be going last. The sounds of this thump bring your attention away from this creature rushing you. And he actually catches two of you by surprise. Kara and Keel. Or no. Kara and Samsara. You are ambushed this round. As this monster barrels from behind you. It is the size of a grizzly bear, but lupine in figure. It snarls with a long maw full of teeth. In its eye, there is no iris. You can only sense frenzy and rabid malicious intent. This thing's claws are like daggers, and the stench of death emanates from it. It leaps upon you, Kara. But you manage to avoid. This creature stands on the edge of the clearing. And at the top of the order, Samsara.
Samsara is still, I imagine she's still seated. And she'll rise. And as she rises, she begins to weave a magic around her that causes her robes and her fabrics to kind of flutter from an invisible wind as she draws a smooth, almost teardrop piece of something. It's no bigger than, let's say, a coin in the palm of your hand. And she holds it high, and it kind of catches the light somehow. and causes a brilliant reflection and refraction of what little morning light there is. As she starts beginning to speak in words that no one here can recognize, essentially talking in tongues, as she curses this fell beast of the moon by the rivalry of the stars themselves, as she casts hex upon it, and this star curse will cause it to have disadvantage on strength ability checks. In the meantime, she'll use this glimmering fragment of molten glass to refract a bunch of star beams upon this werewolf as she casts guiding bolt upon it. So that will be a 17 to hit.
17 will definitely hit.
All right. Now what does guiding bolt do? All right. So as this thing is erupted in brilliant light, it's going to take. Oh wow. 18. It's going to take 20 points of radiant damage and 2 necrotic. From the star curse and the starlight itself, and as her eyes glow further, so too does the werewolf itself, as the patches of skin beneath its fur that have been seared by this cold starlight begin to glow, and the next attack roll made against this werewolf will be made at advantage. And that is my turn.
Which brings us to Kara.
So this thing is like right on me, is that correct? Or did it?
Yeah, it's pretty much like looming over top of you at the moment. You can feel its spittle dripping on you.
So Kara is going to reach and pull out her short sword, and in one motion, as she ducked from its attack, she's going to try to slice its underbelly as it was jumping at her. So this attack has an advantage?
Yes.
Oh, good gracious. I rolled a 4 and a 6. That's lovely. So that would be an 11 to hit.
So as you strike out at this creature, it's just abhorrent figure. It leaves a little to be desired as you go to make a strike, and you don't make contact.
So disappointed. She's going to take her bonus action to disengage from this creature.
Okay. So as it kind of dives back away from you to avoid your strike, you also pivot away, alleviating you of its presence. And if that concludes your turn, the creature snarls with deadly intent as it pivots off the back foot that it just recoiled onto. It's going to leap across this clearing here and dive at you, Yona. And it's going to make 2 attacks against you as it kind of lunges with its teeth in a claw. Oh dear. Imagine an 18. Yeah, an 18 hits and a 14. 18 and 14.
The 18 will hit. The 14 will glance off of my armor.
So the 18 you get hit with a bite as it kind of latches onto you, and you take 3 points of damage. But I need you to make a Constitution savings throw.
Okay. That's only an 11.
He bites hard into your shoulder, but not enough to do much damage, you believe. with 3 points of damage. I think I said that. That brings us to Kiel.
Looking upon this onslaught, the initial guttural reaction from Kill is to just go into a blind rage as he roars, and you can almost see the glow of the outline of the bear explode from him as he roars. How far away from the creature am I?
You're within movement distance.
Cool. So I can move and attack.
Yes.
So I explode into a rage with my bonus action. And then I will recklessly attack, just wildly swinging my maul, almost like spinning in circles, being completely reckless with it, but hoping to find purchase on this werewolf or creature. Okay, so 21.
21 will hit.
Great. That will be... Oh, are you kidding? I rolled 2 1s plus 7 damage.
So, is this attack magical at all?
I don't think it's magical when I'm raging.
So you swing hard, and you make solid contact with the side of this thing's body. But usually when you hit something with a maul like this, you feel something break within. And you didn't feel that.
And I roar with ecstasy on making it hit.
Is there anything else you'd like to do on your turn? I think that was bonus action and attack.
Yeah, and movement. That's it.
So Yona.
So as Yona's bitten, he kind of stumbles backwards, and as he does so, he reaches beneath his vestments and he pulls out this silver and gold, very opulent holy symbol, and it's kind of almost a star shape with this flare of metal behind it that looks like the rays of the sun. He produces that and in his hand and kind of like thrusts his hand towards this creature as he's going to cast Burning Hands. The light reflects off of the metal and becomes this roiling like spread of like yellow and white fire. He needs to make a dexterity saving throw. DC is 13.
He rolled an 18 plus 1, so 19.
Okay, so I think he takes
That's half damage, I believe.
Yeah. All right, so full damage is going to be full damage is 16 points. So he'll take
8.
Yeah.
The smell of burning hair permeates this grove as you singe the hell out of this guy.
Is he still engaged with me?
Yeah. I don't think Burning Hands pushes him back at all, does it?
No, it does not.
No, then yeah, he's still engaged with you.
Okay.
That is the end of your turn. It'll be Bran's turn. Bran steps to aid you. And you notice that his weapon is also... the group of you also notice that his weapon shines with the similar attention to crafting that the sheriff's weapon did. And he attacks this creature with a glancing wound. You don't think he bit into him much. This creature much larger than Bran is, and he has now engaged himself with the creature to protect you, Yona. And that brings us to the top of the order with Samsara.
She continues to wield this strange star magic, cast about her by this strange teardrop of glass, as she calls forth a strange energy of starlight as she casts Eldritch Blast on this thing. That's going to be a 12 to hit.
12 is exactly what you need to hit.
All right, this is going to be a whopping 4 points of force damage.
This
Oh, sorry, no, sorry. Plus my hex, another 4 necrotic, so 8 total.
this blast barrels into the creature's hide, dealing it a mighty blow.
And she remains to be on top of this cliff.
Kara.
Kara, having disengaged from this creature, took the moment to recompose herself from this attack she wasn't quite expecting, and she readies herself to go back in and attack this creature that is now surrounded by pretty much everyone, I believe, right? Except for Samsara.
Yep.
Oh, Lordy. I'm just going to stop rolling right now. That's another 11 to hit.
11 is just shy of what you need.
Yeah, I think Kara had stubbed her toe on a rock.
The ground is fairly uneven, so
Yeah, and it's covered in snow and she didn't see it. And maybe at the last, just as she was about to strike, she kind of stumbles a little bit and her it goes wide. I'm going to then disengage as well again.
okay. The creature, kind of preoccupied with everything going on, doesn't give you much difficulty to escape. But it sets its sights on Lionel on the ground. And as it attacks first with the claw to push you away, Yona, it misses, but it dives face first with the intent to bite into the flesh of Lionel. And as this thing dives upon him, you see its maw open and practically engulf Lionel's chest as it bites down, and the sound of crunching bone and severed flesh and gore and viscera splatter across this grove as Lionel is basically ripped apart from the neck. Keel.
After swinging my maul and realizing it didn't crack ribs like I had hoped, I'll drop it and grab the newly acquired battle axe from the sheriff, go and try to swing it down on the back of this creature that has just split Lionel open, attacking recklessly. Sorry, 18.
Oh yeah, doing some damage.
Nice. Nine damage. The silver battle axe.
Your attack strikes heavily into its back, and you can hear almost the singing of the metal against the reactive flesh as you cut into this creature for 9 points of damage.
Yep.
Yona.
You said that he stepped away from me whenever he went to
I would imagine you're still, because you were kind of next to Lionel. He just kind of has he clawed at you to get to Lionel, so you're right there,
still within his reach.
Yeah.
In that case, I am going to, still clutching my holy symbol, seeing the light catching on it as it kind of comes dappled through the trees. He's going to hold it aloft above his head and begin to once again incant a prayer to Valen to look upon what is happening here and lend his aid in our endeavor to try to solve this matter and to extradite this foul darkness. He is going to bless. I think bless is up to 3. Yeah, so I'm going to extend the blessing to my 3 companions. So you'll get anytime that you make an attack roll saving throw for up to 1 minute, you can add a d4 to that roll. And then he's also going to draw his mace from his belt and kind of hold it kind of between him and this creature in a feeble attempt to defend himself.
That will bring us to Bran, who is horror-stricken by the sight of his friend being rended apart. He's actually going to do something this round. He strikes true, and this axe buries itself next to the battle axe you had used as it cleaves into him. And you now both have these weapons stuck in this monster's back. That'll bring us to the top of the round with Samsara.
She goes for another fell swoop with another blast of starlight, another eldritch blast, and she's exhausted all of her spell slots. It's going to be a 24 to hit.
24 will hit.
And then, oh, there we go. That'll be 15 points of damage, 3 of which is necrotic. 12 force.
As this blast hits the back of this creature, you see as this kind of frenzied look turns to a state of panic. And it would seem as if this thing is very, very close to dying. Kara.
So seeing the note, the look of panic in its eyes, Kara is reinvigorated, and she once more kind of charges towards this thing, this time kind of almost like sliding under it into its underbelly. And this time I got a 26 to hit.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's just not going to... Yeah, of course you hit with it.
And so this time that will be 14 points of piercing damage from a regular short sword as she tries to slice through its belly.
You make your attempt to cut into this, and you're positive this is it. This is the moment that brings this creature down. And the flesh doesn't cut. The wound doesn't appear. The warm blood doesn't spatter upon your blade. It seems as if your attack has done nothing.
And with the last of her motion, her movement, she will again remove herself from underneath this creature and disengage, cursing underneath her breath as nothing happened.
This creature is looking frantic, and you see as it's kind of like measuring up its means to escape, it doesn't see one. So it looks to Bran, and then it looks to Samsara, who has been blasting it from above. And it looks in front of it at the the barbarian swinging wildly from behind. And it turns to strike at you, Keel, with a claw and a bite.
You have advantage against me
Oh, yeah.
because
So
I attacked recklessly.
yeah, you did. So you get hit by this claw, and you take. Oh dear. Oh, it's 2d4, not 1d6. So you take 6 slashing as this thing rends across your flesh with its claw, pushing you back. Oh man! And as its claw pushes your arms away, it jumps atop you and bites into your flesh as well.
You see, as his claws rake across my skin, some of the skin, like, almost instantly healing behind it. Not instantly healing, but it's like the claws didn't go as deep as they.
Resisting the abrasion.
Yeah.
The bite, however, does 10 points of damage as it bites into you. And I need a Constitution savings throw. Well,
Ooh.
I'm sure as you're raging, you also resist some of the damage from that as well. So
Yeah. Resistance is half damage, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I got. And then that is a 14 for my Constitution saving throw.
the creature bites into you, and he's now atop you as he is trying to escape. That brings us to you, Keel.
And I am just laughing as this creature is now on me. And he hasn't grappled me, has he?
No.
So I can kind of like push him off and swing my axe at him.
For sure.
I will do that and expose myself while doing that, attacking recklessly. 18.
18 will hit.
Man, I'm rolling, for 7 damage with the silver battle axe.
What does it look like?
And so I like push him off with the haft and then go and swing with the axe and just get a clean swing chopping off his head.
The blade enters with that same sizzling of the silver on lichen flesh, and you cleave into this thing's meaty neck. And as the blow kind of registers in the creature's mind, the eyes kind of go, the stress in its face relieves as it falls to the ground, blood kind of erupting from this wound. And for a time, this horrific monstrosity lays on the ground.
And the bear betters the wolf.
The creature almost decompresses as it starts to transform and revert to its humanoid form. The tattered remains of the vestments of light that Friar Yona would know, and the chiseled features of Father Trisselm appear from this horrific carnage, his head partially cleaved.
Yona is, I think the moment that the body fell, Yona made his way over to the corpse and stood so that he could see the face clearly and waited, kind of chewing on his thumbnail, anxiously waiting. And when he sees that it is, in fact, the father, he kind of shakes his head in sadness. I would not have believed it if I hadn't seen it with my own eyes.
Kara turns to Kiel with his silver battle axe. You should finish the job. Remove his head.
Without even letting you finish the sentence, I finish it.
The thump of the axe as it buries itself into the ground beneath where the priest was kind of echoes through the clearing. There's a shuffling in the hills above you as a wounded little Chris reappears. And almost as you guys turn around and see him, he sees the remains of his brother. And he drops to his knees and cries out. Bran, trying to look out for him, runs over, and before he can get to him, Chris has gone from his knees and ran into the woods. Bran looks to you all. We'll lose him to the woods.
Is there nothing to be done for him?
It seems as if perhaps little Chris had done too much.
And then it appears that the father got what he wanted after all.
The worst outcome. I know you have to report back to your hierarchies in the church, so here's what happened. The father had confronted the Farleys for being the hunters they were. Chris, having let it slip by appearing to some townsfolk a couple nights, or a night or two a few years ago. When the father arrived to confront the Farleys, Tom couldn't handle it. He attacked, wounding the father, but letting him escape. It was a day or two ago, and well, we found Percy, what was left of him. The change hit the father hard. He was huge, massive. I've never seen a like in that size. He ripped Percy to shreds for seeing him. We couldn't let Percy be found like that. We didn't know what to do, so over in the clearing you'll find a grave unmarked where we buried him. I don't know what else there is to say.
Were words said at his burial?
The best I could speak for how I knew him. He wasn't much for our kind of living, but he didn't deserve that.
I think you should let the people of I think you should let the people of Karlsthaad know the truth.
I'll come with you back to the village, or this town.
And I will make sure that the truth is known elsewhere.
doesn't reply, but gives an accepting nod. And he looks kind of almost ashamedly at you, Keel, but also like looking at you like he did what he had to do.
Kiel is still coming off his frenzy, and he's just not really even paying too much attention to the words that are being spoken.
Bran then looks to you, Kara, in the same look, but he looks down to the ground. And as the scene pans up, we see Samsara. What is she doing?
She has strided over to the corpse that was once the Wolfen man, but now is a beaten man. And she sees how the blood flows from the severed head. It flows onto the snow and into the cracks in the ice, and watches them. She gives the blood a taste, just a slate on the tip of her tongue. But she says nothing at this, beyond a quiet shake of the head. Stars were right this eve. They were.
And that is where we'll end the session. I guess I don't mean to cut you off if they had more. Sorry.
No worries. It was not the case.
Okay. Then that is it. That is the Into or Out in the Woods Vallendorn one shot. So that completes the escapades of this fine party this evening. I want to give a big thank you to all of you for helping me get this off the fucking ground. I'm going to toss it over to you, and then we're going to get the hell out of here because it is late for me, at least. So same order as before. We'll go Phillip, Karen, Jeremy, and Connor.
Yeah, thanks for running this. It was super fun to play in this setting. It was very mysterious and very satisfying to kill a werewolf. Thanks for the wonderful RP all around.
Thank you, Baron, for letting us play in this inaugural session of Vallendorn. I am very excited to see it off the ground and running now, and can't wait for the next one. So thank you, everybody. This was a lot of fun. And I can't wait to see where this setting goes. Thank you, Baron.
Once again, I am Jeremy. I played Friar Yona, and again, I have a YouTube channel called the Erasmus Expeditions. I'm also part of a podcast called The Dudes of Yore on YouTube. And I'm really, really excited to kind of pop the top on a brand new setting and kind of get in there and start messing things up. No, hopefully I did a good job of kind of sticking with the themes that you want for this setting. It's a really, I like settings that run this close of a parallel to history. There's a lot of really fun stuff that you can kind of play with on that boundary. And medieval life and the Dark Ages and Catholicism and all of that kind of stuff has a lot of very, very rich flavor to bite into. So I'm thankful that I get the chance to do that under your guidance as a DM and alongside the players that I get to play with in this. So all of you are not only fantastic players, but I consider each of you also a friend. So this is a fantastic kind of way to spend an evening. So thank you very much for having me on board.
That was so much fun. Thank you for introducing us to this little child of yours and having us, spray paint on it all over, with all the graffiti and the, Connor was here, and Jeremy is a poo poo, just all the graffiti. It was a lot of fun, and it takes a lot of trust to throw a thing to other people and see if it sticks, and it certainly did stick. Thank you.
Yeah, certainly. Thank you all. Yeah, so this was a Vallendorn one shot. Check in with the posts on AbTab that I'm trying to maintain for this 30-day challenge. It's currently day 11. Today is April 24th, 2019. So I think that's what we're going to call it for the night. So don't stray too far into the woods.